All right, Cloud Foundry Foundation Technical Oversight Committee then for the 11th of October 2022. Agenda for this week, let me find it. Actions from last week, the one, it's done. We'll hear from Amelia in the App Runtime Platform Working Group. We'll have a look at some PRs and then any other business. As I say, review actions from last week is done and we'll come to that later. So over to you, Amelia.
Yeah, sure. I put out my updates so I don't forget any in the doc, and so someone doesn't have to take notes while I talk. But I'll just review them, and feel free to interrupt me at any point if you have questions. So I went back and I was like, what did I talk about in my last update? We talked about, oh, we're going to release Nance v2 soon. We did it. Very exciting. And even better is there's no bugs have been reported. And like, this took so much work to do this in a backwards compatible way because V1 cannot talk to V2, so you cannot upgrade them in like the normal way that we do. So it's very exciting that we have it in. It like does some smart things where it can tell that's like, oh, you haven't updated yet. We wait for everything to be loaded and then we swap them all over at once. And anyway, it's pretty cool. Let's see, we got more approvers, plus adding an emergency 7 to Garden because everyone that was on Garden was, nope, not anymore. So we added Chloe, Maria, Matthew, Kocher, and Carson to the to some groups, but sadly they're all VMware employees. So we're getting more people, but we haven't expanded throughout other parts of the community. Last time we spoke, some of the community members from SAP were asking about getting access to the networking pipelines. So now access to those pipelines is just based on the GitHub team. That's like the networking approvers. So as soon as anyone becomes an approver, they have access to them, and they've cut releases. So it's exciting that they have access to them. Go 119 is kind of on the radar right now, was released in early August. No obvious breaking changes this time. That is great, which means we've decided to bump as quickly as possible. So as far as I know, all networking, except HA Proxy, I'm not so sure about, Garden and Diego have bumped and been released to the open source. And I checked out the logging and metrics, and I think all but 2, they have a lot of releases. All but 2 have been bumped and released already. So we're trying to get those out as quickly as possible. The things I'm thinking about is there's this freaking HA proxy bug. So it turns out there was a bug in our code that kind of used to be okay, except now that HA proxy got a bug, and now it is like showing up more. So if you use TCP router, maybe you'll see this. It's like when you create an HA proxy, and if you try to create a TCP, like HA proxy is right what TCP router is under the hood. And so if you try to create a TCP route using, let's say, an ephemeral port that we do not recommend, and something is already running on that port, HA proxy will fail to start up. And so then you might be like, man, none of my TCP routes are working because this HA proxy isn't starting up. Once something stops using that ephemeral port, HA proxy used to be able to start up. It would like continually try and eventually work. And now it does not do that. There's a bug where it like fails once and then does not start again. So it's exposing this bug in a lot more places. This has just been like what our team is working on this week. We've started seeing it in our customers. So if you use TCP router, warning. And we'll be working on, I think what this is going to end up doing is we don't want to fail on TCP router. Like if you fail, then you will cut off all connections and access to your apps. But probably some way that is like way more strict on saying like you can't use ephemeral ports for your TCP routes, and just being stricter on those types of things. So we might see some changes there. Let's see, we're talking about TLS everywhere again. Route registrar has come under the fire recently because route registrar is used for internal routes. So when you route to Cloud Controller, you route to MySQL proxy, those are done through route registrar. And there's a handful of them that did not move over to using TLS yet. And so the idea is to move those over to TLS, and then the goal is to rip out the ability to do non-TLS with route registrar, so that if anyone makes anything again, they cannot do non-TLS. And this is like just one of those things that's left, yeah, that we should have done that just hasn't been prioritized, and it's part of that big glob of like all things that could be TLS everywhere. That seems a little bit nebulous, but this is like a nice specific action that we want to do. Another thing that we're thinking about is putting an IPv6 load balancer in front of CF and seeing if that works. Haven't tested it yet. We don't know if GoRouter is going to be like completely fine with it, or if it's going to be like, no, I expect these IPs in these fields to be IPv, 4 or whatever. But that's a goal that we have. And you can tell these are all very new and like very much on the, like, I don't know, just happened because I don't have any docs around any of them at all. So you're hearing it all first. And in the last forum, Patrick Owen from SAP brought up the words HTTP3. So no, like on my side, no one has started working on this yet, but I have a feeling it will be coming on the horizon. We'll see, we'll track it. And then I've put this in every one of my updates is like, we still have every group except our networking group is all VMware employees. So if anyone knows a non-VMware employee that would like to be part of one of these groups, we would love that. And I would love to work with them to get them the points that they need to become an approver. So yeah, that's what I got.
On the next two migration, when should we expect to see this surfacing in CF deployment?
It came out, let's see, it's already in CF deployment. So it came out in July, and so probably pretty soon after that version in CF deployment is when it came out.
Oh, cool. I was about to ask, like, what is the danger of downtime for people deploying it? I think we already deployed it.
Yeah, probably
without knowing about it.
Exactly.
Well, that seems like you have done an absolutely seamless job there.
I know. The fact that no one has complained at all has made me very happy.
Blimey. I think
Amelia, with the IPv6 stuff, would that need support from Bosch? I don't remember what the current state of like enabling or disabling IPv6 networking is with stem cells.
I have no idea. That will probably be part of the investigation.
Maybe Bosch DNS.
Bosch DNS, maybe.
I think the investigation will be do it. What breaks?
Yeah. I looked into Bosch DNS. I think it does distinguish between, but I don't know, IPv4 and IPv6, and there is some support for IPv6 on vSphere at least, but not all the other ISs work. So yeah, gonna be some work there as well.
Yeah, we're hoping that putting the IPv6 load balancer in front, like that's like step one, right, of IPv6. That's just like, can we have like our proxy be an IPv6 and send it on before we get to like, oh, your app containers are running IPv6. Like that is not what this is, but not yet, at least.
And the pipelines you mentioned, people want to access, are they in the community accounts or?
No, these are still running on VMware infrastructure. Yeah.
I'm personally quite excited to see HTTP 3 develop, because at least from a government perspective, where we don't get a choice about who uses us, and the conditions that we know that government users come to government for, just what Quick and HTTP 3 offer in terms of being able to seamlessly route between different networks, so people, on the bus, swapping between cell towers, going between their home network and public network, and just being able to keep a reliable connection to them. That would be awesome, just for being able to offer reliable, fast, consistent services. So we'll be looking forward to seeing that develop. Any more?
Maybe Are there any plans to look into more metrics for applications, for example, in the routing layer, how much traffic application generates in metrics in that direction?
Not that I know of. I'm not sure what the current state of it is right now. I would have to do some research. But if there's like a specific feature request or something that you're thinking of or problem area, I'd be interested to hear it.
I want to look more in that direction, but I'm also not so into it at the moment.
Yeah, maybe what you're referencing. I know we have a feature that came out kind of recently with Diego and like limiting app logs, like you have noisy apps that produce lots of logs and you don't want that. But I think it like kind of limits it across the board. It's like a foundation wide setting for every app. That's like the only thing kind of related to this area that I can think of right now. I don't know of any more specialized or like specific levers that there are.
I think we have general metrics about how many requests and so on, but not so much for per application. I was thinking that it could be interesting, but I also need to look deeper into it and see what could be interesting here.
Okay. Anything else from anyone else? No? Great. Well, thank you very much, Amelia. Probably another, what is it, 7 weeks until we hear from you again, I think. Is that right? 7, 8, 9?
Something like that. We should probably establish some sort of calendar rotation for groups.
Yes.
And I expect we'll have some disruption with the CF day week and probably holidays.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, good seeing you all. I'm going to turn off my video, but I'll eavesdrop to everything that you're saying.
Thank you very much. Okay, right. PRs then. I realize I have put them in backwards. In reality, we should probably just fly through the bottom 2 just to get through them, and then we give ourselves more space to talk about the other one. So 451 up first. Probably just needs approval and a merge, if I remember rightly. That can probably just be merged. Any objections? No, cool, let's go. Done. Speedy. 446. Probably much of the same. This just needs TOC approval because it's moving a repository, right?
Looks like it's adding one. Maybe this is one we hadn't had accounted for earlier.
Yeah, so that's what I meant. I just didn't use the words that meant that. But yeah, I don't see a reason to stop it.
Yeah, I guess we don't have. Curiously, Greg tagged himself for approval, I think. Did he approve it?
No. Maybe that was accidental. Or do we feel that we want to wait for Greg to approve it for himself? As this is his working group, right?
Yeah.
The fact that they requested DOC approval means that he at least has seen it, right? So should be fine.
Yeah, should be fine.
Okay. Yeah, I guess he would have requested changes otherwise. Okay. Final chance for objections. Nope. Trigger pulled. Let's go. Right. So onto the slightly meatier stuff. 438/449. 438 is the issue of branch protection rules, and 449 is the resultant RFC. So let's just take a moment to read through the responses on 449, if folks don't mind. It seems like there is consensus forming around a PR only workflow, including for working group leads and approvers.
Yeah, I guess that is what we established earlier with RFC number 3.
Yes, it is. I hadn't actually seen that one. But yes, it makes an amount of sense. Okay. So let me just make a note for myself to go back and two approvers. Yeah, that seems to be contradicted as well, doesn't it? In RFC 3. Benjamin seems to be agreeing on that actually only a single observer, a single approver would be better. Is that, are there alternative opinions here? No. Okay, well I'll reword that then, just to bring it down to a single approver from amongst the working group's approvers.
The text seems to suggest that approvers and bots and leads will be able to push directly to the branch. I would want to actually, if we're going to do this, enforce 2 reviews and PR only. Or is that already? I just read the text, but is that already in the comments?
Yeah, so I think this is, as I understand it, what people are wanting by pushing for a PR only workflow. But I do question how the bot workflow for stuff like version bumps is going to work.
No,
if
so
it's
bots
PR
will
only.
probably be able to bypass, right? That's what you want if you want to auto bump dependencies and those types of things, right? So that's why bots should be able to be excluded from that. But
humans,
everybody else should have at least 2 approvers approve the PR to be able to merge it, and then approvers would be able to merge themselves if the approvers are there, if the PR has enough approvals.
Yeah.
If one working group has only 1 approval, I think Benjamin's point is that maybe for some working groups 2 approvals is too much.
Yeah, I think that's probably fair.
Yeah, I mean, if we generate this config based on the working group definition, we should know we should be able to know how many approvers there are.
Yeah,
it's just be a case to take in account.
Yeah,
but yeah, the text should reflect that, right? Something like I don't know what it should be, but it should take that into account.
Yeah, I can put words together that mean those things.
Yes, something with English words.
Yeah. Would we ever want to be in a situation where we might automatically require, if you've got 3 or more approvers, that 2 of them approve? And if you've got 2 or less, only 1? Or would we just want to keep it as a fixed number by default? And if working groups want to override that, I guess they can.
I would do it automatically. So if there's 2 like more than 2 approvers or 2 approvers, then you need 2 approvals. But if there's only 1, so it's basically just the edge cases. If you have 1 approver, then you should not have it be. So the number of required approvals should not be more than the number of approvers in a certain area, because otherwise you always need someone from like a technical lead for a group to override, and that's not nice.
Yeah.
So more than 1. So if you have 2, because maybe one of the 2 approvers created the PR and you can't approve.
Oh yeah, that's what I was going to say. What about when someone creates the PR?
Yeah.
They have to create a separate GitHub account. There's only solutions.
So
I
that
think
sounds...
1 approver has been a little bit of friction enough. 2 approvers seems like a lot to me, especially when 99% of our work is done by approvers, at least in my group. And then you get another one, so that's already 2 approvers.
I think the internal VMware guidelines also say that we need to do 2 approvers. So I don't know.
For all, that's VMware. Does that count for Cloud Foundry repos, or is that exempt?
So the thing is, I think that 2 thing comes from like Salsa as well, right? So there's like security guidelines, they recommend that. So if we would just, I don't know, diverge from that, that could cause issues down the road if we want to comply with that.
It's a fair point. And I think that is something we want to look at, isn't it? Maybe just worth, I'll double check during the week when I do this, whether that is a requirement or just a, hey, you probably should kind of suggestion from that framework.
I mean, maybe we can make it like a function of the number of approvers, like a percentage. Like if you have 2 approvers in your group, maybe you need like maybe from like 5 and up, we go with 2, right? So that you have like enough. And then naturally, if you add more approvers to a working group or an area, then you will start to comply with Salsa guidelines. That would be a more, I don't know, natural way to address this issue.
What if we just started it at 3 approvers and above requires 2 approvals? Is that sufficient to meet those guidelines, but not enough to cause friction? Say, like, rather than say requiring 50% of approvers to approve, like that would cause a decent amount of friction, just even with holidays and stuff, people being on leave and not, it'd be easy for more than 50% of a set of a group approvers to not be at work. But at least 2 approvals is probably sufficient in probably 99% of cases, I would imagine, where that's
go
even
to
possible.
4.
Sorry?
Maybe even like go to 4, like from 4 and up.
Yeah.
But I mean, I think that's the discussion that needs to be had in the thread, right? Like, that figure out that number and then have some people weigh in on that.
Okay.
I think that's where the meat
what
is
I'll
at.
do then is I think I'll write it in as 4 and above requires 2, and then just note in the issue what's changed, just to prompt discussion about the things that have changed. We can go from there.
It would be good to double check on where that 1 versus 2 number comes from, like if that is part of Salsa or what. Because yeah, I mean, I would agree that having 2 approvers apart from the submitter, that is potentially a lot more coordination to get something in. And we should understand if that level of overhead is worth it.
Especially when the submit committer is also an approval.
Yeah.
Yeah, are we
Okay.
going to run into mechanical issues from GitHub where it's like, most of the people who are submitting PRs are approvers, but then they can't, like they're an approver in our governance structure, but they wouldn't be an approver for the PR. So then they need 2 separate people to merge
Yeah,
that. In fact,
that's exactly what Salsa lines out. So the author is not an approver, cannot be an approver on their own PR, and that's also what GitHub enforces. So.
Yeah.
So you need 3 people to get something in.
Right. So actually, if we have any approver checks where there's an area with just 1 approver, then they would always need external assistance to merge something, right?
Yeah, so that's why we say like, but actually in those cases you shouldn't, if they are submitting it, then you cannot have any approvers.
Right. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. We should not have areas with just 1 person. I think that's like a bad thing in itself.
But I think that's a problem outside of this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
If you have anyone who would like to join our docs group, I would love to hear who they are.
Certainly nobody from my end, I don't think, unfortunately. We struggle to get tech writers for ourselves. Okay, I think that probably gives us enough to go on with this to get us to next week and prompt some discussion. Any other business that anybody wants to bring up?
One question maybe. I was looking into the Jamie RFC and saw that it is in draft mode. Is it intentional to be in draft mode? Or... Okay.
Yeah. So looking at the guidance for RFCs, we go to draft first, and then once it's accepted, it gets a number. Yeah. So yes, intentional for now.
So it is not accepted yet, or the plan for Jamie. So we
Which
have an
one, sorry?
RFC. This is almost the first one. This is the 0001.
Oh, right. Sorry, I misunderstood you. Yeah, that's a good point. Does anybody know about that?
About what?
RFC 1.
It's in draft mode, and I was wondering why.
Presumably, there's a.
I think this is before we set up automation for the metadata on these, so it probably just didn't get fixed manually when it was merged in.
Yeah, looking at there's a commit that merged it from Lee, where the name went from RFC draft JamiOS to RFC 0001 JamiOS. So I'm guessing that the file content didn't get updated. Okay, I don't. I'll update that while I'm there and just do a second PR just to see. In reality, it is accepted.
No, it's not accepted. Now we have to revert all the Jammy work.
Oh man.
You have to follow process, right?
Okay, then.
But there's a few other PRs that I saw that could be merged, I believe, like 421.
Okay.
Remove identity, CI. Was
2.1.
that? No, that was we were gonna archive it, right? So that one not, but the add temp teams. So that's 441.
Four one. Okay. Oh yes, of course. Yeah, I just completely skipped over this because when I looked at it, went, it seems like a working group issue. But no, of course, we're adding new teams.
I think the area folks both made sure that the list of repos was pruned down to the minimum that they would want.
Yeah.
The temporary access for.
Yeah, I can see those things match up. Yeah, happy to approve from my side. That gives us enough to approve, to merge. Any objections before I hit the button? Nope. I'll add that to the list and mark it done. What was the other one you wanted? 429, 421.
I don't know. I was looking up them. No, the other one that was the 421, but that actually is still waiting for a change.
Okay.
Yeah, and that service management one, so 447, I think is just an working group related one, right? Yeah.
That's how I understood it.
Yeah, I think it might be worth asking Marcella to ping the folks that are scheduled for removal directly on the PR. I think we're supposed to make sure they have some sort of notice so that they can have the opportunity to become active again or otherwise refute removal.
I think those people left VMware. So I don't know if that they could still theoretically do something, but pretty unlikely.
I mean, Sam is still there. I think he's just not active in OSPAPI.
Oh, okay, that could be. The other two, Jatin and James, are gone.
Yeah, but again, that shouldn't have any bearing on their CFF membership.
No, that's true.
I'll just ask Marcella to. Actually, don't we have that in the charter somewhere?
Yeah, I think it's in the condensed roles document about just the process for removal. Let me find a link to that section.
Thank you very much. Since you're looking for that link, do you mind linking that to Marcella to?
Yeah, I'll drop that.
Thank you.
I mean, I just, we always know the GitHub handles of those people. I could just do it directly.
Yeah. True. Any others?
Oh, I see that on 421 there is a comment they don't want it to be archived, but I think that is like a standard procedure, right? We don't delete code. Things that are falling under the foundation. You shouldn't be deleting the things. That's what we want to enforce everywhere. So it should be archived even if it's moved on. And I think that's typically what happens, right? Even if something is moved, you put something in the README with like new location is there and then archive it.
I don't know. That seems to be the behavior I've seen elsewhere from other Cloud Foundry projects, but I don't know whether that was convention or design.
I mean, so when we moved everything from the incubator to Cloud Foundry, I think then we did delete it from the old, or it was just actually moved. But since this is moving to a non-foundation owned GitHub org, we should at least keep a copy in the foundation. Okay, I will comment there.
Okay. Let's have a quick look through the board. Again, that's the wrong board. We still have the supply chain risk management stuff, but I suggest we start to think about that once we've got the branch protection rules stuff out of the way. We also have the bot accounts stuff to think about.
Yeah, that needs to be done at some point. Just
Yeah.
don't have the time to look at it.
Mhm.
I think the branch protection is probably also more important at this point.
Yeah.
It was more of the bot accounts are useful if you're like in the beginning when people had like a lot of open issues and were really behind. But now I think the working groups are more on top of these things and there's less of a need for it.
Agreed. Okay, so that one can wait for a little while then, I think.
I could see the salsa security stuff and our questions about bot account access being intertwined too. Because if you've got a weird escape hatch with bot account ownership and those credentials, then that could potentially let you circumvent some of the protections that we have that we'd want to have in place coming from the salsa standards.
Fair point. Fair point.
It's like, yes, this is my bot here. Oh, it's proving this. Yep, great.
I think maybe next week. I'm looking at 223. Marcella said that she would update this on the 9th of August. It's been 2 months now. So maybe that's.
I think Marcella's on vacation.
So that would explain a lot.
Yeah.
Okay. Probably even more reason then to wait another week before pinging. I can't see any others that need attention. Anyone else? Nope. Okay, I think that sounds like we have come to the end of everything we need to do today. Perfect. Well, thank you very much, everybody. I will see you all next week. Catch you in a bit.
Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.
Take care.